As Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, remember, is all set to meet with US President Donald Trump in Florida tonight. He will be discussing the fragile Gaza truce plan and Iran's nuclear program. The meeting at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort aims to move forward with the second phase of the Gaza ceasefire, which also involves disarming Hamas and demilitarizing Gaza. However, Israel is insisting that the remains of a final hostage are returned from Gaza before the second phase begins, though it also knows that Hamas may not be able to find and return all the remaining dead hostages. But this meeting comes as Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian has also warned of a full-scale war with the US, Israel and Europe, stating that Tehran is facing unprecedented pressures. He mentioned that Iran's military is now much stronger, adding the West's war on Tehran was more complicated and more difficult than the country's war with Iraq back in the 1980s. He also added that if the enemy chooses confrontation, they will naturally face a more decisive response. So what lies as far as the future for Gaza and West Asia is concerned? We spoke to Israel's envoy to India, Ambassador Reuven Azar. Let's listen in to what Ambassador Azar has had to say. Joined in live by Ambassador Reuven Azar, the Israeli envoy to India. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for joining in on CNN News 18. US has played a key role in Israel's security. What can we expect from the upcoming meet between Prime Minister Netanyahu and the US President? Why is the Israeli Prime Minister of the view that only a military conflict with Iran is the solution to lasting peace in the Middle East?
Well, this is yet another meeting of the Prime Minister with President Trump. They have been meeting every 3 months, and this is the manifestation of the very high level of coordination we have with the United States. I think that, again, we want to be sure that our policies continue to be in sync, both in the de-escalation of the situation in the Gaza Strip. I must remind you that the 20-point Trump plan talks about dismantling Hamas militarily, and we want to make sure when we move to the second phase, after our last hostage comes back, that we will have a path for stability in our region. That means Hamas renouncing power in the Gaza Strip. So this is one thing. The other thing, when it comes to Iran, we believe that we have a diplomatic way out of this conflict. Iran was the one that initiated the attack against Israel following the 7th of October, and they attacked us with more than 900 ballistic missiles. So Israel is not interested in going back to the conflict, but we have to make sure that Iran renounces their two-layered plan to eliminate our state through either a military nuclear program or through the massive assembly of ballistic missiles. So that's our concerns, and I'm sure that that is these are two of the subjects the Prime Minister will discuss with President Trump.
Ambassador, the Iranian President Pezeshkian has said that Iran is at a full-fledged war with America, Israel and Europe, and that none want Iran to stand on its own feet. How would you respond to his statement?
Well, I think that the Iranians are concerned now as a result of the fact that they have been exposed, and that not only their military nuclear program was destroyed, but also the EU has snapped back sanctions on them. So, the international community is pretty unified, including following the last meeting of the IAEA, that Iran has to go back to compliance. They can do it immediately and engage with the international community in a diplomatic path that will make sure that they do not engage again in these illicit activities they were engaging before the war.
Ambassador, Pakistan's Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar has stated that their country will only send troops to Gaza for peacekeeping, but not participate in disarming Hamas. Is it not disturbing for Israel's security efforts in Gaza to have Pakistan and Turkey, both historical allies to Iran? Can we expect Prime Minister Netanyahu to convey his concerns to the US President regarding the Gaza peacekeeping force?
I'm sure it will. Look, we are interested in countries that can conducively support the effort to have a stable situation in our region. We are not interested in players that will come and contribute to radicalization of elements within Palestinian society or be complicit with terrorist organizations. So that is certainly not in our interest, and I'm sure the Americans know it very well. And if necessary, the Prime Minister will mention that as well.
So leaders unanimously agree that Gaza must be demilitarized and Iran should be kept from rebuilding. But with Hamas digging in its heels, Hezbollah rearming, what is the focal point for the next phase of the Gaza peace plan?
Well, we'll have to see. I think that we have been discussing this with our American friends, and a lot of diplomatic pressure will be necessary in order to make sure that Hamas complies. We saw that only after that kind of pressure we been able to bring back our hostages. So if we don't get enough pressure on the diplomatic front from the international community to execute the plan, then there will be only military means left as a precursor for advancing our interests. We are not interested in that. We prefer diplomacy. Diplomacy works, and we trust our American friends that they will do the utmost effort to make the plan work. Now, you mentioned Hezbollah. We are in the process of trying to make sure that Hezbollah doesn't rearm and regroup. Unfortunately, the Lebanese government hasn't been expedient enough when it comes to dismantling the Hezbollah infrastructure, and that made us, gave us no choice but to take action ourselves. We prefer that the Lebanese government executes its resolution to dismantle Hezbollah. This is what will work for the future of Lebanon, and I think we need much more support for that from the international community as well.
So the IDF has fact-checked the 42-page document that was shared by Hamas denying the civilian killings during the October 7 massacre. What's your understanding of this classic Hamas playbook of denying facts and their own brutal actions, all of them that have been documented on camera?
Right. Well, I'm not surprised. You know, Hamas is not only committing these atrocities, but also trying to deny them. There is enough evidence. We regret the fact that some of the international organizations actually have been backing these ridiculous claims by Hamas. But I think that people that are decent enough already have been exposed to the vast evidence, as you mentioned, of the atrocities committed. This is something that we must remember, because the deeds of Hamas are now becoming an inspiration for jihadi elements all around the world. And if we want to isolate these events and make sure that they don't happen again, we have not only to condemn Hamas, but also to further expose these reports about the atrocities that were made.
So the Bondi Beach shooting shows ISIS threat not just in Australia, it's expanded all the way throughout South Asia, including India. Is the world united enough against terrorism?
Unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. The world hasn't been united enough. We haven't been doing enough work diplomatically. We haven't been doing enough in order to de-radicalize populations, in order to stop those who are disseminating hate, promoting hate, and we must do more with governments all around the world. We are doing that with India. I think that both India and Israel have been a victim of terrorism. We understand very well what are the implications, and we are determined to fight it, but I haven't seen enough support from the rest of the international community, and this is an ongoing effort that we have to make.
Like Jews, Hindus continue to face targeted violence, persecution, mass killings. Latest case in point is, of course, Bangladesh. What's Israel's stance on violence against minorities that's taking place unabated, especially since the July uprising of last year?
Well, we are not going to allow international political interests to undermine the rights of minorities. And we have shown that very clearly when we intervened to save the Druze minority in southern Syria that were being massacred by the supporters of Julani, of the current ruler of Syria. Israel is not going to stand idly by. We are protecting minorities within Israel. We're trying to do our best to protect minorities in our neighborhood. And we are joining hands with India, with different organizations here, to promote the interests of minorities and to safeguard their rights under very, very difficult circumstances that are not only in Southeast Asia, but also in West Asia and in other places around the world.
My last question, Ambassador. The international community is aware that in Bangladesh, the Jamaat is a puppet of the ISI. Apart from the inflammatory rhetoric by Pakistani politicians blaming India for the anarchy in Bangladesh, there's also credible evidence that Pakistan is running covert operations through an ISI cell at its Dhaka High Commission. What's your view on Pak agency's role in fanning anti-India sentiment in Bangladesh?
Well, unfortunately, we don't have much influence on what's going on in Bangladesh. We are more concerned of our region, and this is our immediate concern. But of course, this is something that we have to follow very thoroughly. I think that there are different players that are trying to radicalize population in Bangladesh, not just those that you mentioned. There are other players like Turkey, for example. And this is something that we have to be, I think, expedient enough to coalesce with more countries in the region in order to, and outside the region, in the international community at large, to try to reverse the trend, because it's a very concerning trend indeed.
All right, Ambassador, thank you so much for joining in on CNN News 18. Here's hoping that the new year will arrive with a new dawn of peace for Israel, for India as well, and for all of South Asia. Many thanks to you for joining in.